Well, welcome to the channel. My name's Johnny and you're watching Hillbilly Modeling. So, we are continuing our build here of the Focke-Wulf Fw190A-3 by Tamiya in 1/48 scale. So, in our last video, we managed to get our airframe together. Got our wings on and our horizontal stabilizers and our engine and engine cowling and all that stuff. So we need to get this thing ready for painting. So there's a few things we need to do first. So we're going to jump down to the bench there and attend to those little bitty details that may make all the difference in the end. So let's go ahead and jump down to the bench here and work on this. First up, we do have some gaps that we need to take care of. I don't know how well you can see it, but right at the wing root here, underneath the cowling, if I can get the focus there, right underneath that little bulge, there is a gap there. And that gap is on both sides of the aircraft, so it kind of, you can actually see light through it from one side to the other, so I think we probably need to fill that. I'm going to be using this Perfect plastic putty, which is a water-based model putty. And I'm going to make a total mess of this thing, but that's okay. It being water-based, it's really easy to clean up. So the idea here is to kind of stuff this putty into that big crack there to fill it, and use as much as you need. I'm using a cocktail stick or a toothpick here to help facilitate this and kind of target that crack, you know, and get that putty in there. So we do also have where our wing section joins the fuselage. Now there's supposed to be a panel line in this area. However, that crack is rather deep. So I'm going to go ahead and stuff some putty in there too, and we'll clean that up later. Also, we have along the edge of one side, the molding didn't quite fit so well, and it's a very minor little crack there. So we're just going to put some putty there, and we'll smooth all that out with a watered Q-tip later. Now let's take a look at our instructions here. So we do have a windscreen and our sliding canopy there. That goes on the aircraft, and I think I'm going to go with a closed canopy, and that's just a choice. If you are going to enter in a modeling contest or something like that, you might choose to have your canopy open, but I'm going to go with a closed canopy on mine. And also we got our sight there, so we need to take care of that sight. It's got to go on before the canopy does, and the windscreen. So let's go ahead and take care of that sight. Now our sight is molded in that clear plastic. We do need to be careful not to lose it, and I do need some way to hold it so that I can paint it. I'm going to live dangerously here and use some self-gripping tweezers. I just want to make sure though that I've got it secure, because I don't need it to kind of flip out of there and then get lost in another universe where I'll never be able to retrieve it again. We're going to use some black here. This is just Vallejo's flat black primer, but it's just a black color. The instructions does call for this to be semi-gloss, but I don't think we're going to really see all that much of it. And since I've chosen to go with a closed canopy, that's just not going to be an issue for me. But I do want to be careful and not paint that angled part where I've got my tweezers holding the sight. That's supposed to remain clear. Now when it comes to our clear parts, like the windscreen and the canopy that I have here, the frames on these are going to have to be painted. And there is a small frame section there just on the forward part of the canopy there. Hardly visible, but it's there. But a large portion of this is going to be painted, especially the tail section there and down the sides. And then inside, of course, we're going to have our headrest. So if we look at our instructions, we can see how much of it's going to remain clear and what needs to be painted there. So we need to mask off all the clear sections so that we don't accidentally paint those. So I'm going to be using Tamiya's masking tape for this. And this is a fairly easy canopy to do because it doesn't have a lot of supports and stuff, making all those little bitty square window frames and things. So we should be able to handle this. Now, you can get aftermarket masking sets for this kit, but for a a $25 kit, I'm not sure I want to spend like 14 bucks just to mask my windows. But now, if on the other hand, I was building a Heinkel or a Dornier or something like that, one of the German bombers, and yeah, maybe we just might go for a masking kit for one of those, because that is a lot of masking that you have to do. So once we get our tape into place, and I'm not quite where I need to be on my mark there, so I'm going to reposition it and just get it adjusted so that I don't have very much paint going over onto the part that I want to remain clear. We'll just realign that. Now, as you've probably noticed, I'm using my tweezers here to kind of get rid of those puckers because I don't want to pull the tape away from that alignment edge. And then next we'll come in with a toothpick here, and we are going to define that edge where the clear part meets the frame portion of our canopy here. And what we're doing is we're just pushing our masking tape right down into that seam. You want to make sure that it's well defined so that you can see it later, because we're going to have to trim off all the excess masking tape here. And when it comes to trimming this down, make sure that you've got a new sharp blade in your hobby knife. That will definitely help. And then we are going to go right along the seam there. And so you do need to be very careful here, because if you have your blade canted one way or the other, then you may be actually scribing into your clear part. You don't want to do that. We just want to trim off the excess masking tape so that we can just peel it away, just like so. So there is a center frame piece here at the top of the canopy, and we're going to have to trim that out as well, being really careful that we follow that little seam that we pressed in around the actual part where we need that masking tape to be pulled away from. And then we can go ahead and remove that little sliver, revealing that part of the frame that needs to be painted there. And so we're going to go ahead and mask off the rest of this. This is the most complicated part of the masking. The rest of it is really straightforward. It's just following that little seam around where the clear portion of the canopy meets the frame. And yeah, it would be rather boring for you to watch me trim all that out. Now the windscreen is going to be easier, of course, because it has all straight edges, and that'll go fairly quick. So here's our windscreen, all masked up, ready to go. Now, if you were going to leave your canopy open, you would have to mask the inside portion here so you don't get any overspray in there. But definitely before we assemble this, we do need to clean away any fingerprints or smudges or anything that we got on the inside of our windscreen and our canopy. And I'm just going to use a cotton bud to do this, kind of polish the surface out there. That way when we install it, we won't have any ugly spots on the inside where we won't be able to get to them later once we've affixed this to the aircraft. Now our headrest and our supporting strut actually attaches inside the sliding canopy. However, we are missing a decal at this point, so we kind of need to put that on. We don't want to forget about that. And that's why it's always a good idea to take a look at your instructions before you get ahead of yourself and then make a mistake and leave something out. So we're just going to cut it free from the sheet, and I am cutting off the little identification number for the decal. Now, this happens to be decal number 27, just in case you're wondering. So once we wet the paper here, I'm just going to set it aside. Now, Tamiya decals will withstand being in water for a little while, but the smaller the decal, the quicker it's going to release. So be careful with that. So we do have micro set and micro saw. I think micro set's about all we need to help the adhesion of our decal. So I'm just checking here to see if it's loosened up from the paper, and it hasn't quite loosened up yet. So I'm going to have to give it some more time. We'll just give it a little dunk in a little bit more water there and just set it down. And it's almost ready, so we'll go ahead and put some micro set right underneath the headrest, cushion there, or pad, so that we can put our decal on. And our decal's ready to go. Now, these are water slide decals, and as you can see, I'm using tweezers to pull it off the paper. And before anybody freaks out about that, just remember that it's going to be hard to hold this little part and then slide that decal off onto it. So that's why I use the tweezers, and it's going to be fine. Everybody relax. So we do need to soak off all the excess water and set that we put on there. So we'll just let that dry. And when it comes time to attach it, it does have a pin that goes up inside the canopy there. So we need to set our headrest into place. I just used a little bit of Tamiya extra thin there at where that pin goes. And then we need to push and align the headrest section there to the inside of the canopy. So it has locator tabs and little locator slots up forward there. Just make sure everything is seated. And I'm going to use a little bit of Tamiya extra thin. Now make sure that the brush on your extra thin applicator isn't soaking wet, with a big drop of extra thin there, because you don't want that running down inside your clear part. And we're just going to attach that, and then a final check there to make sure everything is seated nice. And we'll just set that aside and let that dry. So now we can attach our sight to that little hood that goes over top of the instrument cluster on our aircraft. And we're just going to push that down into place. It is a little snug, but that's okay. It's a good fit. And we will just go ahead and cement that in. Now we need to attach our windscreen. That's the first part that we're going to install when it comes to our windscreen and canopy here. Just want to make sure that it's seated with no issues. I mean, I did test fit it before, but just in case something has crept up since then, we'll look at it before we commit to the cement. And I am using Tamiya extra thin here. They do make cements just for clear canopies, but I don't think we're going to have an issue with it. I've never had a problem, knock on wood, because we might have an issue this time with what's called fogging. And that's where the vapors actually puts marks or haze inside your canopy. But usually Tamiya extra thin is not an issue here. I guess we'll find out whenever we go to pull all of our masking off, whether or not it made it through. But I think it's going to be fine. So the next thing up is to attach the canopy, the sliding part, into place there. And just want to make sure it's aligned perfectly there. And then I will cement this into place the same way. Let's go ahead and get back to our perfect plastic putty here. Now it's a water-based product, so I can use a cotton bud here to clean it off. Just use a little bit of water there to soak into your cotton bud, and then just kind of rub over it, and you'll just start to wipe that away. And we do need kind of a seam line there, so it's okay if we pull some of that perfect plastic putty out. We just don't want a gap there. So I'm just being careful to clean it up nice. We don't want any big lumps or anything in our paint job. This goes really quick. Just pay attention to what you're doing. Now, if you do have a spot where the putty didn't penetrate the crack completely, you can always reapply and then go back and wipe it down. So next up, as you will find in older kits where they have some sort of detail that wraps around edges, those details sometimes are either missing or very, very faint. And in this case, I'm talking about the fasteners that holds the leading edge to the wing. And for Tamiya, they have molded these in as little bitty holes. But they're not very defined, especially in that curved surface, especially down towards the wing tips. So I'm just using a really small, the smallest drill bit I have. I think it's a number 80. And we're just going to redefine those so that there will be something there when we go to use a panel liner to bring out the details. We won't be wiping off all of our panel liner. So we're just creating a little hole there for the panel liner to actually sit down in. And that way we'll be able to bring those details more to life. So it's these little details that you need to pay a lot of attention to, especially on older kits. That way we can try to elevate this more than what the kit manufacturing technology at the time allowed them to actually do. So I don't know if you guys have seen these or not. These are scribing saws. Now they're rather small, but you can see there's two types here. There's a round and then a straight edge, little saw teeth there. Now this is a Tamiya product, and there's the part number in case you would like to order yourself one. And it is a saw for scribing. So rather than that little sharp pointy beak tool, you know, for scribing. I think this is going to come in really useful for us at this point in our build. So I'm going to use the straight one, which I've already cut from the fret. Now this is made out of stainless steel. It is a photo etched tool, and like everything Tamiya or Tamiya, you got to build it. So there are two wings, as you can see here, that I need to bend over. Now these are stiffeners to keep you from bending your tool while you're trying to use it. So we just need to collapse that down upon itself there and fold it with a nice sharp crease there. And as you can see there, that is a 0.1 millimeter wide blade, so it's very, very fine. And that'll just fit into your number 11 X-Acto knife handle, or any handle that will accept number 11 blades. And we'll just insert that into our handle there. And I do want to give it a little crimp here just to kind of see if I can get that flare out of it a little bit. And then, yeah, we're ready to use it on our model. So the areas that we need to fix primarily is the leading edge of our wings. Now this is the area where we have gone and sanded and polished out that seam line that runs on the very edge of the wings. And since this is a two-piece wing, you know, a top and a bottom for both the left and right side, the sanding and taking care of that seam has kind of left us either really shallow or or no panel line at all for the adjoining leading edge panels there. So we're going to use our saw there to reestablish that. And I find this little saw to be very helpful in doing that. I usually use the curved one, but in this case, when you're going around the circumference of a rounded surface, the straight one seems to be doing much better. Now, I like this better than the tool that you drag along the plastic. This way we can just kind of follow the already established panel line. And you can also use it to deepen a panel line if it is really shallow. Now, because this is a kit from 1994, those panel lines on the edges there, especially the leading edge here on our wing, wasn't really that deep to begin with. So a little bit of sanding and they'll just disappear on you. So we're going to go ahead and fix that, because we do need something to catch our panel liner when we go to finish the kit. Once we're done cleaning up our panel lines there, or straightening them out or re-adding them or whatever, you may find that the saw or even a scriber may leave a little edge on it there. So a little bit of Tamiya Extra Thin added to it there will just kind of melt that away. Just make sure that you wipe off all the excess panel liner from the applicator brush and just give it a little brush on there, and we have nice clean panel lines now. Now we need something to hold our aircraft while we're working on it. So what I've done is just cut the end off of a car wash sponge that you can get at the dollar store. Cut a V-notch in the end there to accept the fuselage just like so. And we'll be able to work on the undercarriage and decals and all that without our aircraft scrubbing around on our mat. Now, to get everything ready for painting, I've already painted the inside section here of our landing bay covers that are attached to the landing gears. They are supposed to, of course, cover up that landing gear bay. So we need something that'll hold these into place that we can remove them later. That way we can paint these covers at the same time as we paint the bottom of the aircraft. What I'm going to use is some blue stick here from DAP, and it's for mounting posters and things on the walls. That makes it really easy to remove. It's not supposed to leave any film or residue behind. So I've had this blue stick for a while, I think right about 5 years. So it seems to hold the part okay. So I think we're going to go ahead and try to use this. Now, the other option, of course, would be to try to mask out those areas and cover them. But I think maybe this is a better solution. That way we can paint the outside of the covers at the same time that we're painting the underside of the aircraft. So I'll just put a little blob there in the landing gear bay. And then I'm going to take a second piece and kind of make it into a kind of a noodle here to cover the end section where the landing gear would be attached to the wing. Because the covers don't really go the entire length of the opening there. So I'm just going to take my little tool here for sculpting clay figures and things like that. It works pretty good for just about everything else. Not that I do any clay modeling, but since we do modeling, I think it's pretty much the same thing. So, anyway, we're going to use it to stuff our putty in there. And we need it to cover up the socket area where the landing gears actually go into the bay. And then we can just kind of press it down. Now we need it to stand just a little proud of the surface there. That way we can take our actual cover and press it down on top of the that tack, the blue stick tack there. And then we can just press it into place there, and that'll help redistribute, I guess, the blue stick underneath there. Now these covers don't really fit. I don't think that Tamiya actually intended for these covers to ever be put on with a aircraft in a flying configuration, because as you can see, it doesn't cover the entire bay. There is a little spot outboard there on the end that it does not cover, and there is not another little piece in the kit to do that. So maybe we'll just take a look at our instructions here real quick. And as I scan over it, and I didn't think that I missed this before, and obviously they don't have any mention there of the landing gears being installed in the up position. So yeah, it looks like their only intended option for the kit is to have these landing gears extended. So the thing that prompts me to look at that is that the covers, they don't really fit in the hole. They're just slightly larger than the opening. So, well, I mean, that's okay for me because I am building it with the landing gears extended. But if you wanted to build it with them closed, you're going to have to do a little bit of sanding there to to get them to actually fit in, and then you'd have to make a little piece there on the end to cover the rest of the opening. Now, if there's any of that blue stick that sticks out, you can just kind of scrape it off. It's not any big deal. And of course, we need to go ahead and take care of the opposite side to put the other cover into place. And for my purpose here, to paint the covers at the same time as we're painting the rest of the aircraft, and to cover up that landing gear bay area, which we've already detailed, painted and detailed. This should work fine for us, as long as they don't come loose while we're painting anyway. So I don't think our covers will fall off. They shouldn't fall off. They give it a test drive here. So yeah, I think we're almost ready for painting there. So, but that's going to have to be in the next video. We still got our propeller to do, and the spinner that goes on the end there, and the little fan that goes in behind the propeller. That'll have to be painted along with the rest of the aircraft. And we're going to paint the whole exterior of the aircraft, and we have to pick out some colors. So that ought to be a lot of fun. So I guess that will do it for this video. Special thanks to all my subscribers. It's because of you guys that I keep making these videos, and I hope that you enjoyed this one. And if you did, don't forget to give it a like. And if you're new to the channel, I hope today I earned your subscription. So look for the next addition to this build next Friday, and we'll see how we get on with the paint. So, till I see you guys next time, stay safe.